Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning and welcome. We're live, folks. It's live. You're looking live at Podup with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We got a good show lined up today. It's Tuesday. That means we got good old Buddy Martin from the Buddy Martin Show, second portion of the day's program. Seth Harp will take over and close it out. Conference basketball tournaments have started up in some of the smaller leagues. Gator baseball, Gator softball, all the great spring sports are in full effect. But we're going to go to the Titan MR hotline, and we're going to get words of wisdom from Buddy Martin today. Buddy, you're on the Titan MR hotline. How you doing, my man?
Coach, how you doing this morning? Good to talk to you again, and glad to see you. And got that swamp behind you. Are you out in Okefenokee someplace? Where are you, buddy?
Yes. Yeah, I'm just hanging out in the swamp.
Gotcha.
That's what we do.
Yeah,
but how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. Yeah, it's good to be on with you again, Shane. Yeah, I'm sort of scratching my head looking at where we are right now. These intervals, thinking, can it be true that spring practice is just 4 days away? I mean, at Florida. So that came on me faster than I realized. So that's a good thing. And I'm sitting there pondering things I know nothing about. Okay, I mean, this is what we do in this business. And I'm looking at things like the draft, NFL draft. I don't get too heavily involved in it, but I'm really intrigued by what's going on right now with the gold rush toward Anthony Richardson. You know, I don't quite understand it, except I know this, as you said, the scouts fall in love with measurables, and Anthony certainly got those. And I'm reading stuff like CBS this morning, Shane. It says the odds are he is the co-favorite with Will Anderson to be the first player taken in the NFL draft. Words I never thought I'd read in my life, Shane.
Well, as you said, I mean, I've seen it here just in the XFL. These personnel guys, they get enamored with measurables. Andy says here, rumors are that on Facebook Live brought to you by Mel Law that Andy will move up to take AR at number 1 in the draft. I hope. I mean, look, I'm rooting for the kid. I mean, I just at that position, at that level, in that league, ooh, it's you better be ready to play. And well, we'll see. I still compare him. I think he's going to be a lot like Justin Fields. But if he gets to the right place, the right time with the right coach, who knows what may happen. But it's all about his arm strength and his size and his speed, things like that. Buddy.
Durability, which you brought up a lot.
Well, you bring up a great point. He's been hurt quite a bit, but nobody has talked about accuracy, anticipation, knowledge of the game, all those type of things. All they're talking about are the physical traits. So we'll see how.
Don't they believe they can teach him that? That's what coaches do, don't they? They see, I can teach that guy that, right?
There's no question, but you can't, in my opinion. You may be able to help them a little bit, but some guys have the right mind to play that position, and some people don't. And so we'll see. When is the draft? It's in April, right?
April, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't follow it at all. I don't
either, but this has got me interested. Now, keep in mind, we know this story. These scouts fall in and out of love with players as we go. There'll be another one in a couple of weeks. Just like, they look like they're looking for girlfriends, and they fall in love easily. And certainly, as you pointed out, in the combine, if Anthony takes off his shirt and stands next to Carson Wentz, if he was there, or even Justin Fields, he's going to look like a superior athlete. I'm really happy for the young man. I think it's wonderful because he's a good kid. You know him. You've been around him. I don't know whether he can handle it, but hey, what will he get, Shane? $30 million? I don't even know how much they get for being number one.
Oh, he'll get more money. He'll make more money than any player probably that's ever played at the University of Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll probably get 30 million a year for that matter.
Well, no, he'll be on a rookie contract, so he'll be making close to minimum salary, but he'll get a huge signing bonus. But no, I'm pulling for him. I hope it all works out. I don't know. That's the only thing that concerns me. We know he's very physically gifted. I mean, you're living under a rock if you don't think that.
It really brings up. Excuse me. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying that there's just way too much more to it than playing than looking the part.
Of course. But this brings up an interesting little conundrum. And I heard this said by Charles Barkley the other day, and it got me to thinking about it. And we talking about coaching. And he was talking about at Auburn how he came out of nowhere, the mound round, a rebound, whatever. And his transition, he became one of the most famous athletes in college in basketball history, and also at Auburn, right up there with Bo and the rest of them. And there's a little fat budgie guy, and he got to a point where he and his coach was Sonny. What was his name? At Auburn, I've forgotten now. He said
Sonny Smith.
Sonny Smith. I saw that Southern Hoops thing, which is pretty good, by the way. If you haven't caught it, I've caught just pieces of it. And he said something on Stephen A. Smith's show, which I rarely watch. I haven't to catch it. He said Sonny did not know how to coach a star, and he didn't say it in a mean way. He was just saying that he never had a star to coach. He didn't know how to coach him. And it got me to thinking about, well, that is a factor, because if you've ever managed a team or in business, you had a superstar or whatever, they're different. You treat them differently. And yet within context, you have to also coach your team. So I asked you the question about coaching a star. Have you ever had to do that? Your dad was a coach. How do you coach a star? And the question is, we have to go back and look at Billy and say, how did Billy coach a star? That all works in my mind. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I don't think you coach stars any differently, but I mean, we don't even know if somebody's drafted in the first round, if they're going to be a star in the National Football League. Look, so a lot of people compare him could be like a Lamar Jackson. They're different type of runners. Lamar's a quicker runner. Anthony's more of a powerful runner who has speed. But when it goes back to the National Football League, you have got to throw the ball at some type of accuracy at a high percentage, because Lamar, I don't think the Ravens have ever won a playoff game. If they have, they've only won one. And the problem is if you are too one-dimensional, these guys have so many people breaking down tape, looking at your tendencies of what you can and cannot do. So I think he's got a chance, but it's all going to come down to throwing the football. I mean, like I've said it from day one. When he goes, and I don't know what he's doing at the combine. I don't know if he's throwing. I don't know if he's jumping. I don't know if he's running. I don't know what he's doing. But he's going to throw. He's going to shatter all those records. But having said that, doesn't mean you can drop back on Sundays and go 24 of 30 for 325 yards and 3 touchdowns. So we'll see. I don't know if I answered your question, buddy, because I've never coached a star, so I couldn't tell you that. Real quick, Dan asked, how was Spurs? Did you go to Spurs last night for the event?
I did not.
Buddy?
Lauren Meadows was there last night, reported on the show to us about it. It was very nice. They talked with Sonny Dykes just a little bit. Drake May was there. They said he almost didn't come because he didn't want to miss his fraternity basketball game, which is a big deal at UNC, I guess. But he said, nice crowd, some pictures of it, which we have on the show. We're going to have Coach on our show tonight to talk about it. And that's a good thing. And, and the guy who did it, who put it together, was really a bulldog, Mike Griffith from Dog Nation, and did it under the guise of the Football Writers of America. And for people that don't know what we're talking about, it's the Coach Steve Spurrier Award for the first-year coach. And Sonny Dykes certainly deserved it this past year. So, yeah, Bobby Stoops was there. Had a nice crowd. I saw Chris Story, etc. They sponsored the event. So it's really cool, and it's really cool that Steve's doing this.
Yes, it is. Chris Story Mortgage to do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Story Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Yeah, Chris Story Mortgage was a title sponsor of this event and will continue to be. Yes, they added an award this year, some kind of legend award that Stoops won. So it was they always do a great event, and it was year 2. And I had Chris on yesterday, and He said they made some changes because last year it was held within the restaurant, which we know it's a great restaurant, but
Mhm.
it's not set up where you can kind of have a banquet type setting.
Right,
So they put a big tent out in front there on
right,
that turf
right.
area. So I'm sure it was very well.
Yeah, and
Andy asked how's
I was there, by the way, for the Steve Spurrier street naming, which and all your friends and former Gators were there. Did it outside, really nice. It was and let's be honest, Freddie Weeby, he does it right. I got to give him a lot of props.
That's right. Andy asked how is Johnny Townsend doing? Looks like his plant leg was injured. Yeah, he was hurt. I have no idea, Andy. I don't. I haven't seen Johnny since the game because they have days off. They have stuff they have to do. He's doing probably MRIs and all that kind of stuff. I'm not sure. Hopefully, it's not too severe. Buddy, as you said, spring ball is cranking up. Are they going to allow you boys to go watch any?
Yes, they're limited, of course, very limited. I'll get 15-minute segments. Come in for a day, you can't talk to anybody, and they have a presser and whatever. They're going to try to do a little better this year. I talked to the people in Florida. We can now request, doesn't mean we'll get certain players for this show at certain times. They're going to give us a little window, but never too much. Yeah, I'm excited to see what it reveals because I said this last night and France called me out on it and said I was wrong. I don't remember the last time I didn't knew so little about a team in the spring. Of course, I haven't been here every year, and France has. He pointed out that back in the Charlie Pell days and so and so, and I'm sure there are other days, but it just seems like there's so much we don't know right now. And I realized that as I was putting together my list of requests for players that I wanted to get interviewed and what I do about them. I can give you about 10 or 12, but I mean, I don't know a lot about this team. I don't think you do either, Shane, but we're going to find out.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of unknowns, but as I said, you got to trust your coach. As I said on your show last night, that pretty much our best players on the roster last year were players that he had brought in. So hang your hat on that. We got a new young defensive coordinator. I know a lot of people weren't happy with Patrick Toney. We'll see what this young man can do. Ted says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law. Is Austin Armstrong? Is he 26 or 29, buddy?
29.
Yeah, that's crazy. Ted says the Ravens have not won a playoff game with Lamar. AR is going to be a GM killer if he goes number one overall.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe.
possibly.
He's a guy you fall in love with. Yeah.
Alan asked here a question for both of us. Do we think that the Bucks will give Trask the opportunity to show his skills?
Well, I'm reading it. They are. That they're going to get look. They got no cap money, right? Now they can make a deal. I mean, Carson Wentz is out there. Would you want him over Buck? And I heard some favorable comments for the first time out of there about Trask last week. That he's the guy. I mean, if you're ever going to train a quarterback, a guy who would sit 2 years behind the goat, as a term I hate, and now has at every level has succeeded, he's smart, you got to give him a chance. Now, as you know, there's a lot depends on what's around him. I think it's one of the things that hurt Brady was he didn't have a great supporting cast of people. So I would sure like to see it. And I just want to go back and say that we've kind of forgotten about Trask. In my mind, there should be an award for first responder named after Kyle Trask after what he did to the Florida program. Which you want, and he got an unfortunate some bad bounces of the ball at the end of his career, and things didn't work out. But I think Kyle Trask has got to be long remembered as what he did at the University of Florida.
Who is the offensive coordinator for the Buccaneers now?
I don't know.
And Todd Bowles is still their head coach, correct?
That's my understanding.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's going to determine who their offensive coordinator is. But I've said from day one, I don't know if Kyle will be a starter in that league, but I feel like he can play 10, 12 years as a backup because he doesn't need the work. He'll know what to do.
Well, he is from the Steve Spurrier school of learning how to play by watching from the sideline. I mean, this is you did many times, and what you learn and be ready when your time comes. Now, it's so much about breaks. Kid deserves it. I mean, he really waited his time. No, he did. Florida did now. So
Andy, who's on top of all the current events, says, on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mount Law, that there's rumblings in Tampa that the Bucks may trade with the Falcons to move up to number 8 to pick a quarterback.
Well, who would that be?
Well, I don't know who. I mean, he could be Anthony Richardson. I don't know. I don't even know who other than C.J. Stroud. Bryce Young. I did see where Bryce Young, his height, he's only 5'10" and a half, which when they have him listed at 6 foot, I knew he wasn't, because when he would stand next to Saban on the sideline, Saban's only like 5'7", 5'8".
Right.
He was just barely taller than him. So that's going to be interesting to see how they hold that against him.
I bet they will. I bet they'll hold it.
They will. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Joseph says Cam Newton was a few plays from winning the Super Bowl. Let me see here. Let's face it, unless you have a Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen type, most teams will sell out for just one Super Bowl. AR may not. Come on. This thing, why does it get in the way when I'm trying?
While you're talking, I think Josh Allen is a good comparison for the Anthony. I think, although Anthony's smart, is really faster, and type of player he is, and I love Josh Allen's game.
So Dave Canales is the offense coordinator for the Buccaneers now.
All right, what does that tell you? I don't know anything about Dave Canales. Do you?
Yeah, I don't either. So
it was Tom Brady before that.
Yeah, they basically.
Yeah.
Well, it was
they got rid of
Byron Leftwich. They got rid of him. So,
right.
Are you in the market to buy or sell your home? Darling, we be a realtor with Caldwell Banker, Emma Parrish, will value fast, friendly, reliable service. Call her today at 352-562-1411 to help your dreams come true. We got a couple of texts on the Titan MR text line. This is from anonymous texter, says, the difference between Anthony and Josh Allen is tough and durable. Anthony is not.
Kind of cowboy tough.
Well, I mean, it's true. I mean, he plays. He plays reckless. It does not get hurt. Daryl says, "Good morning, guys. Some Gator fans think the sky's falling because we lost some coaches. My thing is, if the NFL wants you, you must be a good coach. Not only that, but I'm telling you." And I'm sure, buddy, you may have done some articles on this, or other reporters in the area. You're going to see more and more and more people get out of college athletics. And they're going to take pay cuts because they don't want to deal with the headaches. There's always been headaches. There's always been pressure because of the money you make, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. But let's just use Patrick Toney, for example. He was making 1.2 million, I think. I don't know for exact. So
that's about right. That's about right.
He's probably going to be making about $500,000 to coach safeties or whatever he's going to coach for the Arizona Cardinals. The difference is quality of life. You just coach football, what you love to do. You do not have to recruit ever. You show up, you coach, you go home. I mean, you watch tape and stuff. So you're going to see that happen more and more and more, in my opinion.
Well, what was it? Who was it just left, gave up all that money to play in the XFL? Was it McCarron? Who was it? Somebody gave up a bunch of money. I just read it yesterday. I can't remember.
AJ McCarron, what was he doing?
I got to look it up, but I thought I remembered something. I thought it was McCarron.
Well, that's a player. Players are different than coaching.
No, but I'm talking about for a chance to play. So it's the same principle. You could be right, Shane.
No. I'm saying.
I know you're talking.
College athletics has been ruined because of the NIL and the transfer portal.
Yeah.
You cannot argue that. Nobody.
I don't argue
whether it's good for the players. Blah blah blah. I don't care. I've hated it from day one. Anybody that's watched my show since it started knows I hate it. And as a coach, it doesn't matter if you're coaching college football, college softball, college gymnastics. Now, obviously, gymnastics you can only go coach an Olympic team or what have you. But I'm telling you, you're going to see more and more college football and basketball coaches try to get to the professional level so they don't have to deal with all the nonsense.
Well, give me those numbers again. How much to how much?
What?
You said you don't see coaches giving up how much for what? You mean go coach for $500,000?
I mean, Patrick Toney was making $1.2 million. There's no way he's making anywhere near that in the National Football League to coach, to not be a coordinator. But you think he cares? No, because he's going to go up to he's going to the premier league in the world at his sport, and he doesn't have to deal with all the nonsense. And when you're in the NFL, you usually can stick in the NFL for a long time. And he says AJ McCarron's playing the XFL, so
I got it right in front of me, right here.
So his kids could watch him play.
That's what he said. $4 million to 60,000, so the son could watch him play.
Wait, where was he making $4 million?
So what the story says, I don't know.
That's wrong. He wasn't playing anywhere. He was sitting at home in Mobile.
Former Alabama quarterback says St. Louis Battlehawks.
Yeah.
So coming behind the game, McCarron spoke about ever since I came out of college, I've been counted out. It's just fun to come out here and play. I miss not playing. I'll always be backup. That's a great living, it really is, but I absolutely love it. I love playing.
Yeah, there's a ton of guys just like him in this league.
Yeah.
Guys that have played in the NFL with backups they're making about $75,000 for 4 months. So it's not bad. Buddy, who you got on your program tonight?
David Whitley from the Sun, talking about spring ball coming up. And then tonight, later on, I've got Lauren Meadows is going to come aboard with this trivia from Steve Spurrier from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Every week we give away stuff. And I want to say that we got to revise our numbers as we go in terms of our so-called panel of experts about projecting the future and the possibility of success of Florida Gators as you're buying stock. We did it again last night on my show. Lauren was on. Lauren has revised this upward somewhat. And we do this every week with Lauren Meadows, France Beard, and Ben Troop. And you shocked us last night. For people who don't want to talk about, we do a thing where we say, okay, you have a basis point you take. Let's just go sign a number of out of 10. What do you give each team? We give Florida 7.5 to start the season. Now we go up or down each week. And they've been going down. One guy voted as low as 5. You blew us out of the water last night. We said, Shane, what do you think? And you said what?
8.
Man, that boosted that average. So you're positive on it. And I got thinking about it, and I'm glad that you did, because it does give us a little bit of a spark. Look, we're here to enjoy what's going on. Why not? Look, now you got me thinking about it. Look, these same problems that Florida's got are everywhere, except not as bad as Georgia and Alabama. They're everywhere. And it's going to be an endurance contest. And you could go anywhere from 6 wins to 8 or 9 wins, depending on what happens. You catch the breaks, don't get the injuries. And in the end, it's the quality of the program. And I think the quality of the program is in good hands. You keep telling me, trust Billy Napier. I'm going to trust him. I'm going to take your word for it. So I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to actually revise mine slightly upward. I had him at a 6.5. I'm going to go to 7, based on what you said.
Well, yeah, I'm up at 8. So before we get out of here, buddy, Dan asked a question here, Facebook Live. QB, do you still feel okay about the softball team after a bad West Coast visit? Yeah, I have no issues. They're better than they were last year, and they made it to OKC. I mean, it ain't going to be easy, but you got to trust that squad for sure. So I'm at an 8, buddy. We got to go because we got to get to Seth Harp. It was fun being on live again.
Yeah, boy.
Appreciate all the questions. We appreciate you, Buddy Martin, and you can listen to Buddy every weekday night around 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Facebook Live. It's the Buddy Martin Show. Buddy, have a good day, my man.
Thank you, Coach Matthews.
All right, we're going to take a quick timeout. We're going to come back. Seth Harp will take over. Have a great day, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Rue's Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, M.M. Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi, Steve Spurrier here. You know, making a reservation at my restaurant is easier than a Saturday afternoon homecoming game against Vandy. You don't have to call or email. Just go to spurriers.com, hit the reservation button, pick a date, a number of guests, and a time. It's so simple, I can do it. In fact, I just did. Maybe I'll see you tonight.
Seth Harp, Harp on Sports here on Podup with Matthews in the morning as we go to the bullpen for the last few innings here. Interesting, because I am going to talk about baseball. Jack Caglione, what he is doing for the Florida Gators this year. And I know it's a small sample size, but Florida needs to strike while the iron is hot when it comes to Jack Caglione. What they should be doing coming up here over the course of the next few months, because this is a generational player. And when you have generational players, you should do special things. So I'm going to talk about where Jack sits. Also, heard Buddy and Shane mention about Kyle Trask now being the primary focus, or should he be the primary focus with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Guess what? Already talk after he got cut by the Washington Commanders that Carson Wentz could be headed to Tampa. This is the best thing that could ever happen for Kyle Trask. Tell you why coming up as well. But I wanted to start with this. Saw a story. CBS Sports had it. Dennis Dodd had it. And I think it's extremely relevant. I think it's very important. Florida State and Clemson are unhappy with their current deal in the ACC. They're unhappy with revenue share. They're unhappy with the angle of the conference. And I get it. I get it. Because with what the Big Ten has done with USC and UCLA, what the SEC has done with Oklahoma and Texas, puts the ACC behind the 8 ball. And the fact that the Big 12 went out and got themselves BYU, UCF, Houston, Cincinnati, and are going to be back to the Big 12 after losing Oklahoma and Texas. The ACC just kind of sat around. And I know it's been over a decade now since they went and did the Louisville, Syracuse, Pitt thing as the Big East completely crumbled. I look at it from Florida and Florida State's and Clemson's perspective. Now, the thing about this is this, gang. Look, Florida State and Clemson in the SEC, no benefit to the Southeastern Conference. And I know this is one of these things where they're trying to get into the SEC. Look, if the SEC wanted Florida State and Clemson, they already have Florida State and Clemson. They don't want them. They bring nothing in terms of TV markets. They bring nothing in terms of growth and expansion of the conference. They don't. They already got the state of South Carolina, got the Gamecocks. Already got the state of Florida, got the Gators. It makes no sense to add either of those programs. Why? Why would you do it? Adding Texas A&M and Missouri over a decade ago made sense for the SEC because you brought the St. Louis and Kansas City markets into the fold. And when you brought Texas A&M into the fold, you brought Houston in. So it makes sense in that capacity. Now, adding Texas and Oklahoma is brand, geographic footprint. Also, it strengthens your core when it comes to Dallas. And Oklahoma doesn't really bring Oklahoma City in to some extent, but you bring those two programs in and you increase the value of your franchise. So, what do we make of this Florida State Clemson shakedown here with the ACC? This is a way for them to push the conference and also get a larger share. Right now, the ACC, for whatever reason they did this, they signed a massive deal, a TV deal that doesn't expire for another 13 years. So the fact that the ACC
has a TV deal, we will vote. We will vote for as many as 4 different presidents, including this one. We can have as many as 4 different presidents by the time that next thing expires. See that you do TV deals like that, and without the possibility to hook somebody in to expand them to renegotiate. But as we know, contracts were made to be broken, right? So this is how I look at this. If I am the conference, you're going to have to give Clemson and Florida State some more money. You just are. You're going to have to give both of those teams more money. Very similar to what the Big 12 did with Texas. They get a larger share. And depending on your conference, if there's a team that's more valuable that's contributing, they get a larger share. They just do. And I look at it this way, and it's not the reason the NFL has succeeded as long as it has in the last 30 years and it's continued its growth is because of revenue sharing. You're able to build up all your brands. Now, that means that franchises like the Dallas Cowboys, the New York Giants, the Chicago Bears, teams in big markets have to sacrifice some of their value to boost up the value of the lower franchises. But inside of college football, if I'm Florida State, if I'm Clemson, I look around at the ACC and go, wait a second, without us, you're cooked. We want more of a share. So where I'm going with this is this. Florida State and Clemson aren't joining the Big Ten. They aren't joining the SEC. What they're trying to do is get more money out of the ACC. So right now you got, 12 teams in that conference? Big 12 now? You divide that up, the share of the pie, 100%. So that comes out to what? 8.5% cut. What Florida State and Clemson wants is like an 11% cut. They want 2-3% more than everybody else. Then that takes that number where, you're talking about in 5 years, each ACC school is going to make $30 million less than each SEC school. In the next 5 years, each ACC school is going to make about $30 million less. And then we're talking about $40 million less than the Big Ten. And their buyouts are ridiculous. The buyout is like 110, 120, it's $120 million for each program in the ACC to get out. So there's no way on earth that Florida State or Clemson are cutting a $120 million check to leave the ACC. They're just not doing it. They want more money out of the conference, and they'll probably get it, and they probably should, especially Clemson. Well, and I know Florida State's historically stronger. I get it. But from the standpoint of that conference, Clemson's the only thing that's kept that thing even in the semblance of competitive for the last, 8 years, 9 years? The only thing that's made that thing even remotely worth discussing. And basketball brand rise, I get it. It's a bigger basketball conference than football. I understand all of those things. But when it comes to this, renegotiating TV deals, money on the line, Florida State, and you're going to see the story everywhere today, Florida State and Clemson aren't leaving this conference. They're not. You could talk about maybe the Big 12 could come knocking. Maybe. If the Big 12 wanted to go to 14, they could come. And look, the Big 12 has already expanded into the depths of Florida with UCF. The Big 12 has already expanded eastward bound, right? West Virginia's already in the conference. So they've got that print, Cincinnati. So they've kind of spread out here. The Big 12 has, outside of their little, central time zone niche straight. I call it the Louisiana Purchase Conference because that's what it looks like, right? That's what that conference looked like for the longest time. But now as they start to expand, you could see the Big 12 come sniffing. But then again, is the Big 12 going to cut $240 million? Our Florida State is a conference. Or Florida State Clemson were $240 million. That the only threat to take these two schools would be those two, would be the Big 12. And if you're the Big 12, okay. And conversely, with Florida State pushing this narrative, with Florida State and Clemson now pushing this narrative that the ACC needs to reevaluate some things here. If the ACC expands, I wrote down 2 teams. If the ACC expands, the ACC has to go to Oklahoma State and TCU. Those are the only place to go. Either the Big 12 comes and plucks those 2 away, or the ACC goes and takes 2 from the Big 12. You can't look. Conference USA schools, MAC schools, there's nobody there that's in a big enough market to do anything. There's not. So again, I wrote in all my percentages here and how much money, and you're talking about, just tweaking 2 or 3 extra percent cut of the revenue for Florida State and Clemson. And all of a sudden you're talking about $65 million per year. That puts you you're not making what SEC schools are making. You're not making what Big Ten schools are making, but it gets you closer to the narrative and the discussion. So again, you'll see the story today. Florida State, Clemson, unhappy. They want to they want the ACC to sit down. They're eyeing an exit. Only place they can go is the Big 12. Only place they can go. Again, it's about media markets. And if the Big Ten, or there's other scary things from the ACC's perspective. And it's, if the Big Ten wants to expand, the next place the Big Ten's coming is Atlanta. Think about the media markets they have. They've got New York, Rutgers. It doesn't matter how good Rutgers is either. That does not matter. It matters that there are 11 million people there that you can pump the Big Ten network into. Electronic footprints. I know cord cutting and all those things exist. It still doesn't matter. Yeah, it is affected a little. You bet it has. But it's all about getting that conference into those markets. For exposure, just is. From the Big Ten's perspective, what markets don't they have? Well, they've got New York. They've got LA now with USC and UCLA. They got Chicago, market 3. They do. Northwestern. Then you start, what, market 4? Okay, what 4? Well, depending on if it's TV or radio, now you're talking about San Francisco. You're talking about, so you start to think about that like TV market-wise. Okay, then you've got Dallas. Oh, okay. SMU, TCU. Dallas, Fort Worth. Interesting. SMU, TCU. Then you start to get into what? Houston. Well, Cougars are already cemented now in the Big 12. Philadelphia, Temple, you really don't want. Atlanta. Oh, ooh. So top 10 media market wise, the Big Ten is always, with the exception of Nebraska, they want to do over on that one. When the Big Ten's been expanding, Maryland brought them DC and Baltimore. It's about cities. It's about putting your market, your brand in big cities. So as I look at this, when the Big Ten comes knocking again, the Big Ten's coming Atlanta. The Big Ten may be coming NC State for Charlotte. They want those markets. So the 2 big markets. In a dream world, the Big Ten adds TCU and Atlanta, and it's game over because now they have Dallas and Atlanta. In a dream world, and you could sit there and say it's a $120 million buyout for Georgia Tech. It is. But with those 2 markets, you're talking like $110 million per year. Georgia Tech could make their money back in a year if they left the ACC to join the Big Ten. So again, it just another realm, another cycle of conference talk with Clemson and Florida State pushing the narrative that, hey, they want to talk about some things with the ACC here. And what I think is going to happen when it's all said and done, they're going to get a larger share. They're not going anywhere because they are big fish in a small pond. But they want extra TV revenue. They want extra money, and they'll get it. They'll get it. The ACC will give them 2 or 3 extra percentage points. But it is interesting. The ACC wants to expand. Where do you go? You go TCU, you go Oklahoma State. If the Big 12 wants to come this way, then they go Florida State and Clemson. And if you know what's funny about this, and it just and look, it's just true. I've got friends that work and live in Tallahassee, Florida State, and Miami. But if you're going to expand with the team, you're going to add Miami. If you're the SEC, why would you'd much rather have Miami in the conference? Why wouldn't you? It's a private institution. Now, it's in a bigger market. Miami's a top 10 media market, and it's Miami. You can do more things in Miami. Why would you want Florida State over Miami? Why would you want that? There's no factor in which Florida State is more of attractive for the SEC than Miami. It just doesn't make any sense. Georgia Tech is more attractive to the SEC than Florida State. NC State is more attractive to the SEC than Florida State because it's in Charlotte. You get that Charlotte, Raleigh-Durham market. So there you go on that front. So there we go when it comes to conference shakedown here with this Florida State and Clemson news. Quick reminder, Podup with Matthews in the morning. service of Meldon Law. You have a question for us? Fire it away. Meldon Live Facebook page, at least Meldon Law, the only official injury law firm partner of the Florida Gators. You have a Facebook Live question, be more than happy to read it. Fire away. Also, I happen to be joining you today, as everybody that pops on this show, courtesy of the Titan MRI hotline. And if you want to comment, fire away. More than happy to take your questions with regards to what we're talking about. Okay, something else. Of course, this past weekend, we saw Jack Caglione do things that we've never seen done as a member of the Florida Gator baseball team. And it was funny because, I am in charge of the day-to-day operations, the ESPN Gainesville, and there's a student in there. I'll give him credit. Will Levinson said, Jack Caglione's, Ohtani. Jay Ohtani. I'm like, well, it's not quite. Well, wait a second. He may be the college version of that. He may be. Like, wow, hold on here. Good call. Was a bright young man. He's going to have a great career. He's only 22 years old. He's going to have a great career in media. So I started to think about this. You have a generational player in Jack. You do. What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do? You have a generational player who, look, he's a top 5 pick, isn't he? Well, he's number 1 pick. Oh, okay, but I'm telling you, he's a top. As long as he stays healthy, he's a top 5 pick. He can pitch, and he can hit bombs, and he's lefty. So he fits almost everything that you want in terms of the boxes being checked at the next level. So I was thinking about this. And again, I've been working at the University of Florida for 3 years now. Worked in Jacksonville for 5 years prior to that. And if you have a generational player, you should do something about it. And I just look at it from Gators baseball's perspective. I hope they just don't let this dude come and hit, 30 home runs and not market or build anything around them. So I'm about ready to offer Gator baseball in the athletic department a marketing idea that I think you would love as fans, that would be the envy of the conference, at least from a player's perspective. Condren Ballpark, right field, you get that berm, the berm kind of loops around, people sit, right field line. Well, he's lefty, right? First base, lefty, always using that porch in right field. If I were Gator Athletics, I'd carve out a section of that right field berm, and I'd call it, ready for this? Jack's Pack. And what I would do is I would cut off that section down the right field line and make it a party, rowdy, out of control zone. You've seen things like this at, Major League Baseball level. The Cardinals had something similar, Big Mac Land down the left field line when Mark McGwire was hitting bombs at Busch Stadium. You would see it when, Felix Hernandez pitched for the Seattle Mariners. You saw that down the left field line. Pitching's a little bit different. But with what Jack Caglione is, you've got a special, generational, once-in-a-lifetime type of guy now. These guys don't grow on trees. A guy that can be, Ohtani 2.0, except he's a lefty. What are you going to do with him? You're going to come watch him? Oh, look at him. There he just hit another home run. God, he's a lot of fun. No, you can, oh my gosh, you can make shirts. See, I've got my own little 2Bits t-shirt on, and I wore this for this purpose today to make this point. This is a brand, right? This is a brand. It's an image. Well, the same thing with Jack Caglione, Jack's Pack. So I like the fact that you have this opportunity. I don't like the fact that, and maybe something's in the works and I don't know. I'm not privy to a lot of things. There's a lot of things that end up on my desk. I'm like, oh, boy, I wish I could have looked at this before you did it because there's, oh boy. But with this, Gator Baseball have a chance to make that whole entire right field section Jack's Pack and pump all the students down that right field line. And, you know, when it comes to ticket prices and things of that nature, what is it? He wears number 14. I don't know if you want to do like, I don't know, first 40 people. And you shove them into that section. They get to hang out there. I don't know if you want to put bleachers, seats, whatever you want to do out in that section. But I would love to see something done for him. Love to see something done for them. Would love it. Because again, when you talk about generational players, this guy's it. And this guy may end up being this year. Now, college baseball doesn't have the range. I get it. That college football does or college basketball does nationwide. It doesn't. But you know, you talk about recruiting opportunities in the future and special things in the future. And you want to build a relationship. And this is something that this university from athletically does poorly. Is that one-on-one relationship with athletes and branding and pushing that pedestal. It doesn't. It struggles with it, especially in the NIL era. And you've got a guy that you don't see. These guys don't pop along. And if somebody's special, you give them special treatment. And well, I treat everybody the same. That's ridiculous. No, you shouldn't. If somebody's exceptional, you treat them exceptionally. That's how you make exceptional people happy and want to stay. This whole thing, no matter how good you are, we treat everybody the same. Bad idea. Bad idea. No. Preferential treatment should exist in this case. So I would love to see it. I'd love to see Gator baseball again. Jack Hagelin, right field line. You've got that berm where there's just grass and kids sliding down and their parents coming and grabbing them and yanking them back up to the top because they're not paying attention. Well, those kids are going to get tanked one day out there. But as I look at it, you have a great marketing opportunity. Jack's Pack. Love to see it. Would love to see that out there. We'll see what happens. You can sell shirts too, Jack's Pack. You can do all sorts of things. A Jack Pack every time, or you think about it, you've got the nickname of a home run, Jack. You've got all sorts of things you can do with this dude. Please don't let this dude hit 30 home runs, win 10 games as a starter, and be a record-setting guy. And we'll go, what did we do with him? Well, we watched him. Wasn't it fun? Do something special. Get that market, get that thing cooking. Jack's Pack shirts you could sell. Remember a Jack's Pack. See, this is, and again, doing this for 25 years, hosting, running radio stations, I'm a marketing guy, branding guy. That's how you hook people. And again, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see them do something with that. Okay. Again, Seth Harp on Sports, filling in. Second half of the show, Podup with Matthews in the morning. A service of QC Kinetics. You have joint pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back that won't go away. You need to check out QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief, not surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics, locations in Ocala and open in Gainesville as well. Give them a call, 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. Wanted to wrap with this. You know, the door, and we brought Zach Blobner on, former Gator, WDAE, host of JNZ down in Tampa. And he brought up something that was so interesting. He brought up the fact that where they are with Kyle Trask, that the players want him now. The players are pushing this outward narrative, physically coming out and saying it, that he needs to be their quarterback. Then I see that the Washington Commanders, what a franchise, cut Carson Wentz. And one of the teams that Carson Wentz could be rumored to going to is Tampa. And before, oh God, they're not going to, no. Carson Wentz to Tampa pretty much locks in that Kyle Trask is going to be the starting quarterback. Right? Pretty much locks that in. Doesn't it? If you're Kyle Trask and you can't beat out Carson Wentz, Remember, I don't know if you guys remember this guy. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. There's a guy that played, he played LSU? Remember Matt Flynn, who played for the Packers? Well, he came in and filled in for Aaron Rodgers and just lit it up his last game. I think it was against the Lions. And the Seattle Seahawks gave him like a 4-year deal, paid him what, 20 some million bucks. And then they drafted Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson took that away from him no sooner than Matt Flynn put on his jersey in Seattle. This is back when Russell Wilson was the guy, right? So I look at it this way. Just looking at it from what Carson Wentz has done in Indy, then what Carson Wentz did in our nation's capital. And now he's rumored to be, okay, the Bucs could be interested in him. Okay, this is a good thing for Kyle Trask. It's a good thing. Now, if they were bringing in another veteran like Derek Carr or they were bringing in Jimmy Garoppolo, that would be a terrible thing for Kyle Trask. But Carson Wentz is a good thing. Why? What's he going to make? 4 or 5 million? Maybe. And he's a quote unquote veteran now, although he's only been in the league, 7 years, 6 years? And this is a guy that is serviceable. He's not going to win you playoff games. He's not even going to get you to the playoffs. But if Kyle Trask gets hurt, you do have a veteran quarterback at that point that can keep you afloat. You don't want a situation where, look what happened to the Colts this year when Matt Ryan was gone. You didn't really have anybody else. So how I look at it from the Kyle Trask perspective, Carson Wentz to the Bucs. If I'm Kyle Trask, I'm doing backflips. I am. It's his job. It's his job. And if it's not, what are we blaming now? And from all intents and purposes, it looks like Kyle's going to be given the shot here. And Carson Wentz pretty much guarantees Kyle Trask a path, an open path to being the starting quarterback in Tampa. You can't beat out Carson Wentz for that job. And again, with where this franchise is $30 million over the cap, what they're going to have to do cut-wise, the moves that they're going to have to make to even get to that cap number, it's going to be a rough year in Tampa. It is. And while Trask is still on his rookie deal for the next 2 years, they can get under the cap, and then they can make a decision on Kyle Trask of what they want to do going forward. But the guys like Carson Wentz, you couldn't ask for. If Matt Ryan somehow were to come to Tampa, that's the best thing that can happen. Guys like that are the best things that can happen to Kyle Trask. The Garoppolos of the world, you don't want any part of that. No, because Kyle Trask is not going to beat those guys out. He's not. Couldn't beat up Blaine Gabbert for the backup job. But Wentz, hallelujah, baby. Hallelujah. Seth Harp from Harp on Sports in for Shane Matthews here in the second half of the show. Podup with Matthews in the morning. Quick reminder, Podup with Matthews in the morning is a service of Ruse Olga State Farm. Dedicated insurance professionals ready to help fight, for your right, for the right insurance part. I got to be careful. I don't get nailed with copyright laws there. Right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogre-insurance.com. Give Ruse a call. 352-240-1779. That's 352-240-1779. Not very much going on the Facebook Live questionnaire sheet, courtesy of Meldon Law. Greg did have a couple things in here. He said, Jack, is he a DH? Plays the field also. He first baseman. He can play first base, but primarily, to save some wear and tear, he's been just in the box, right? We're talking about Jack Caglione. But again, please, I beg the athletic department and university. He's a generational guy. Do something special there at the ballpark. I suggest Jack's Pack, right field line, cordon off that berm, make it a party zone out there. You can sell shirts, Jack's Pack. It's home run, Jack for Jack. Too bad we don't have Jack in the boxes here, right? Give away 14 free. You give away every time he hits a home run, you can give away burgers, right? Maybe a year's supply of Jack cheese. I know, getting a little corny now, isn't it? But there you go. Again, Seth Harp on Sports in for Shane Matthews today here on Podup with Matthews in the morning. Can't thank Shane and the gang enough there for Podup with Matthews in the morning and Weeby Marketing here on this Tuesday. So, hey, it's the last day of Tuesday, isn't it? Or last day of February, isn't it? March is here. March is here, which means the NCAA tournament. Ready for this? Is 16 days away. Well, technically, it's 14 days away with the play-in games. Nonetheless, Selection Sunday, less than 2 weeks away. Everybody enjoy your Tuesday. Thank you so much. This has been Seth Harp from Harp on Sports. Check out the site, harponsports.com. Filling in for Shane Matthews, Podup with Matthews in the morning. Right here on the Podup with Matthews in the morning Media Network.